अरहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तिनको स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाए स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर चोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। So today is our 14th lecture starting from Vitrag Vigyan 1, then moving on to Vitrag Vigyan 2, and today would be the last class of Vitrag Vigyan part 2. First we will do the chapter lesson number 8, the Great Ashtanika Festival, and then the last one, non-violence. It's a kind of essay on non-violence. So first we will complete the Ashtanika festival. Last week we had done the reading of this Ashtanika festival. So I'll just straightway explain you what is Ashtanika festival all about. And then we move on to the last chapter. Hope you have been doing your concept clarity homework. What is the last date, Jia?
I'm not sure. For the first one, it's passed already.
First one is over, but second one, I think 17th May.
I
So,
thought May 15th, you said?
I think 17th May it was, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're right. 17th May. I
Yeah,
wrote it down.
yeah, 21 days from that Saturday. So 21 days, so 17th May. Okay. So Jia, you put a reminder in the group that the last date for submission of concept clarity paper 2 is 17th May. And you have to write about 4 expositions in concept clarity paper 2 plus half page mythbuster as we always do. So you can write from minimum 1 page to maximum 6 pages on that, whatever you have understood in the class, what you feel is good for you. You can give examples, practical examples, at least 2 to 3 examples each, where you are for a particular day-to-day life event, you are putting 4 expositions and you are understanding it very nicely, and that leads to passionlessness. So that examples also you can give. Whatever we have covered in the class, you just make a summary of that, and that is enough for that. Okay, so this great Ashtanika festival. Okay, so this great Ashtanika festival is of 8 days. Ashtanika. Ashtanika means 8. So it is coming thrice in a year, as we have Das Lakshan Dharm also thrice in a year. Similarly, this festival is also celebrated thrice a year. Which are the days? It starts from the 8th day of the second half of Kartik, and then Fagun and Ashad. Okay, so Kartik, Fagun and Ashad. So nearby it will be March, July and November, approximately. It could be 15 days here and there. So we had studied in the three worlds about the central world. In that central world, there are innumerable islands and seas. One island, then one sea, then one island and one sea. So in that sequence only, the eighth one, okay, the eighth one, the eighth one is Nandishwar Dweep, okay. Eighth island is Nandishwar Dweep. Dweep means island, okay. And we cannot go there. We as a human being cannot go there, but all the heavenly beings go there. So why can't we go there? Because we cannot go beyond the third Pushkar Island. In the third Pushkar Island, there is a mountain named Manushuttar, and human beings cannot go beyond that. Okay, so Manush Uttar. So man cannot go beyond that. So it is called Manush Uttar. What is there in Nandishwar Deep? There are 52 beautiful self-made Jain temples. When we say self-made, means nobody has constructed those. It is already there from time immortal. That is why it is called self-made. Nobody has made it. You can just imagine such a good thing that it is there since time immortal, these temples. And each temple, there are 108 deities. So 52 temples, in each there are 108 deities. So total there is 5,616 deities. So these heavenly beings go to this Jain temples, self-made Jain temples, and engage themselves in pursuit of the soul by worshipping, by offering worship, adoration, and indulging in religious discourses. Since we cannot go there, we arrange various religious programs, performances here in order to realize our soul. So Ashtanika is celebrated across all the Jain temples in India or abroad also. Anywhere if there is a Jain temple and they celebrate it uh, with worship, adoration, and a scholar is being invited from outside, and it gives religious discourses throughout 8 days, morning and evening. And people, all our community people, they attend those at large. In many places, religious ritual of Siddh Chakra Vidhan is arranged. So this Vidhan is a kind of religious ritual, okay? And it is very popular among the people. People may not sit for a religious discourse, but if you tell them that there is a Vidhan, and particularly Siddh Chakra Vidhan, people are very much interested. Why? Because there is a story attached to it. It's the story of Maina Sundari and his husband Sripal. So Sripal and 700 of his companions were suffering from leprosy, Kusht Rog. Okay. And his wife, Maina Sundari, arranged the ritual of the Siddh Chakra Vidhan and sprinkled holy water. After the Vidhan, she sprinkled the holy water over these patients, and they were completely cured of the dreadful disease. And because of that, in every Ashtanika, people arrange this Siddh Chakra Vidhan. Siddh Chakra means collective existence of Siddhas. The Siddhas are the completely liberated souls, those who have shattered all types of karmas and worldly bondage and developed eternal consciousness, eternal perception, eternal sentience, eternal perfect bliss and perfect potency. Ananta Gyan, Ananta Darshan, Ananta Sukh, Ananta Virya. So they have manifested all this in complete form and they have destroyed all the 8 karmas. So they are free from all kinds of bondages, whether it is material karma or it is psychic karma or it is quasi karma, dravya karma, bhav karma, and no karma. They are devoid of all types of karmas and they are the liberated soul and that they stay on the borderline of this world above the where the heavenly being stays. Above that there is a Sid Sila, and in that Sid Sila there are innumerable of liberated souls called Siddhas, and their collective existence is called Siddha Chakra. In the ritual, we worship and glorify the Siddhas. In the last verses of adoration, that is called Jai Mala, after we do the puja, there is a verse of adoration called Jai Mala, are included religious teachings beneficial to the progress of the soul, which deserve understanding. So in that Jai Mala, the whole journey of a mundane existence, starting from a life like us, and how he got connected to this religion and how he meditated and how he became a monk and how he got liberated. The whole story, starting from the mundane existence to getting liberated, these are very nicely explained in that verses of adoration. So how this soul progresses, that also is being given there, and people can understand and follow that path and get themselves liberated. So Jaimalas contains adoration, and along with that, the path of liberation of the soul is also shown there, and how these siddhas attain that state of psychic bliss. So in a way, we are worshipping, but indirectly, we are also understanding the path of liberation. And how these siddhas attain liberation, that is also explained there. So we feel motivated, and we also feel that he was also like us someday, and he rose from that position and got liberated. So we can also follow his footsteps, follow his instructions, and follow his methodology, and we can also get liberated. That is the confidence we get from these stories. What is the good of their worship and adoration? We can understand from their nature, page number 43, second last paragraph. We can, Gia, I will make you a co-host.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Right? Sorry. Why this happens, I don't know. I made you a course. So you can share the uh, textbook, page number 43, second last paragraph. Yeah. We can understand from their nature that our own souls are also of pure and unblemished nature. And we can also attain eternal omniscience and bliss by following their footprints. After Das Lakshan, this is the second great festivals of the Jains. And then that story of leprosy that I already explained, and the next page. To limit the glory of Sid Chakra to the cure of leprosy alone is to minimize its greatness. Leprosy is only a physical ailment, while the ailments of the soul are attachment, aversions, and delusions. So we need to get rid of these attachments, aversions, and illusions and manifest passionlessness, complete passionlessness. That is what we aim for. If we regard our souls as those of the Siddhas and absorb ourselves in them, we can cure the great diseases of birth and death, as well as attachments, aversions, and delusions. So leprosy is only a physical ailment. It's a disease in the body itself, but the main disease that the soul has is the manifestation of attachments, aversions, and delusions. And if we are able to get rid of that, then we have cured the disease of the soul, and we will stop the innumerable birth and deaths that we are going through. So we'll get liberated. The real effect of the adoration of the Siddhas is the development of detachment from worldly affairs, because they themselves are completely detached. The real devotee of the Siddhas does not desire worldly gains from their worship. Still then he attracts meritorious karmas, and worldly pelf and pleasures come his way of their own, but he does not attach any importance to them. So while we are practicing passionlessness, we automatically bind auspicious karmas, and when the fruition of those auspicious karmas comes into fruition, we get all the good things in life. Okay, all the wealth and everything you can say. Whatever comfort that we have is just because we have bound in our earlier life auspicious karmas. Without auspicious karmas, nobody gets any kind of benefits. So while we chase passionlessness, we also bind auspicious karmas along with that. But if we plan to bind only auspicious karmas, we bind opposite of that inauspicious karmas. And when there is a rise of inauspicious karma, we suffer from misery. So it is when we try to get into the path of liberation by practicing discriminative knowledge, we automatically bind auspicious karma on the way, and those auspicious karmas are of that category that we get access to this true gods, true literature, and true monk. And they show us the way how to get liberated, and by following in their footsteps, we can also get liberated. That is the main takeaway from this Ashtanika. I thought festivals are meant for enjoyment alone, but I have understood today that religious festivals are for developing detachment, abstinence, and pursuit of the self. I shall also lead a life of abstinence during this period and shall try to realize my soul. So these are some of the festivals that we celebrate throughout the years. This Ashtanika comes 3 times. Then there is Das Lakshan Dharma, which is also again coming 3 times in the year. And then we have Sola Karan Bhavana, and then we have like yesterday was Akshay Tritiya, Then we have Mahavir's Nirvan Divas, and then we have Srut Panchami when the books were uh, being written. The first time the books were being written, that the day was Srut Panchami. It is celebrated as Srut Panchami. Then we have permanent events like Ashtami and Chaturdasi, which comes twice a month. So those are also celebrated. So we have got all these kind of festivals, and the main purpose is to develop detachment, abstinence, and pursuit of the self. So we should also celebrate each and every festival, because during this time, the atmosphere is so conducive to manifest passionlessness. Okay. And you have a general inclination towards religion at this point of time. So we should not lose out on any opportunity of celebrating this kind of festivals. And when we do it together in the temple, we also get motivation from others also. And that what keeps us in the path of liberation. If you have any questions, I would be pleased to answer. If you have any doubts, I would clear it. Otherwise, we will move on to the next chapter, the last one in Vitrak Vigyan 2, that is non-violence, chapter number 7, just previous to that, Ashtanika festival. So, you have no questions? Okay. So we are coming on to the last chapter of Vitrak Vigyan 2, which is lesson number 7, page number 35. Non-violence. It's a commentary, it's a kind of essay, and it has been adapted from Purshat Siddhi Upay, written by Acharya Amrit Chandra. So first we will read on Acharya Amrit Chandra, how was his life, what were his other creations, and then we will move on to the actual comment. So, Shubhangi ji, you read on Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev. Previous to this page,
Non-violence is the
no,
it's about
one page previous to this. Jia? Yeah. 1 minute. This one.
yes,
Right.
non-violence. Acharya Amrit Chandra is second only to Kund Kund Acharya ji in the galaxy of spiritual saints. It is a matter of regret that we do not know much about this great Acharya of about 12th century, except whatever is known from his writings. Always unconcerned with fame and other worldly aspirations, Acharya Amritchand, after writing great treatises, says, words were formed with letters, sentences with words, and sentences gave rise to this holy scripture. In Tatvarthasar, Pandit Ashadhar ji has called him Thakur, which shows that he must have been connected with some high Kshatriya family. Can you scroll the page up? Thank you.
So everyone should take out a printout of this textbook if you are not having the
Yes.
textbook. If you have ordered the textbook,
Yes,
yeah. Because otherwise,
he,
what you can study at home if you don't have the textbook?
he has complete mastery over Sanskrit language, both in his prose and poetry. Language flows according to the feelings and is simple, easily comprehensible, and sweet. He was always engrossed in spiritual thinking. Consequently, all his creations are full of spiritualism of a high order. All, all of all his works are in Sanskrit. He wrote prose and poetry, both. Among his prose writings are his commentaries on the great works of Kunt Kunt, Samyasar Tika, known as Atma Khyati, Pravachan Sar Tika, known as Tatparya Dipika, Panchastike Tika, known as Samay Vyakhya, Tatvartha se poetic translation of prose sutras of Uma Swami, Puru Sharth Siddhi Upaya, an original work on the life of a householder. The nature of violence and non-violence has been clearly depicted in this work. The present essay is based on his Purusharth Siddhi Upaya.
So you see, this chapter has been adapted from his work on Pushat Siddhi Upay. So Acharya Amrit Chandra is more famous for his commentaries on Samaysar, Pravachan and Panchastikay. Okay. All these three books were written by Kunkunda Acharya Dev, and after Kunkunda Acharya Dev, 1000 years after Kunkunda Acharya Dev, Amrit Chandra Dev came and he wrote a commentary on Samaysar, Pravachansar and Panchastikay. And those commentaries are very famous, particularly Samaysar, that it can be read as a separate book itself. That Samaysar Tika is commentary on Samaysar is named as Atmakhyati, and the commentary on Pravachansar is named as Tatparya Deepika, and Panchastikai is known as Samay Vyakhya. All these three are written by Acharya Amrachandra Dev, and he is best remembered by that. Tatvat Sat, it's again a poetic translation of the sutras of Acharya Uma Swami's Tatvat Sutra. And the last one, Putsat Siddhi Upay, it's his own creation. It's an independent text. In this text, life of how householder's life should be. What should be the conduct of a householder is really very vividly explained in this book. The nature of violence and non-violence has been very clearly depicted in this work. So this article on non-violence is adapted from this scripture, Putsat Siddhi Upay. We don't know much about his personal life, Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev, but he is regarded next to Kunkunda Acharya there in the galaxy of spiritual saints. So Kunkunda Acharya was here in the second century. So Acharya Amrit Chandra there was here in 12th century. In Samaysar also, and in Tatvat Sar also, it is written that words were formed with letters, sentences with words, and sentences gave rise to this holy scripture. I have done nothing. Just you can imagine the kind of humbleness that these people, great acharyas, had. He said that words were formed with letters and sentences with words, and sentences give rise to these holy scriptures. I have done nothing. This is written in Samaysar and also in Tatvat Sar, same thing. Pandit Asadarji has called him Thakur, and this is from that reference that he must belong to a Kshatriya family. He has complete mastery over Sanskrit language, and all his creations are in this Sanskrit language. Acharya Kunkundev wrote in Prakrit language. At that time, Prakrit was the local language. After 1000 years from Amrit Chandra, Kunkund Acharya Dev, Amrit Chandra Acharya Dev, and at that point of time, Sanskrit was the local language. So he wrote everything in Sanskrit only. This non-violence is a very good chapter. We must understand Jains are popular in the world for their 3 A's. A for Anekant, A for Ahimsa, and A for Aparigrah. Anekant means multifaceted reality. Ahimsa, we are going to study today about that. And Aparigrah is non-possession. Okay. So these three are very main principles of Jain across the world. And non-violence is the greatest religion. Ahimsa parmo dharma. Non-violence is the greatest religion. It's a common saying among the Jains. Very old saying. It is an established truth that non-violence is the greatest religion. But the question is what non-violence is. Okay. Yeah, from here. So the question is what non-violence is. We will understand what is violence, what is non-violence from the story of the great Pandavas. Everyone knows about these stories about the enmity between Pandavas and Duryodhana and his brothers. The Pandavas were deeply shaken and completely disturbed by the reduction of Dwarka city. With the huge fire, there was a huge fire in Dwarka city and it was reduced to ashes. It killed its entire population, leaving only Sri Krishna and Sri Balram as survivors. After hearing the sermons of Sri Neminath Bhagwan in his divine assembly hall, the Pandavas realized how futile their efforts were for gaining happiness in worldly existence. They realized that the true path of happiness is the quest of liberation and not indulgence in sensory pleasure. With an increased feeling of detachment, the 5 brothers renounced worldly attachments and accepted asceticism from Tirthankar Neminath. Panda Muniraj were deeply engrossed in the meditation of their soul at Mount Santrujay when a descendant of Duryodhana saw them. He was filled with rage as he all that memories of the revenge came into his mind. How his ancestors were overthrown from power by the same Pandavas. Now that they are without any weapons and incapable of fighting him, let's teach them a lesson. So he got bracelets, crowns, and shackles made of iron and heated them over fire. When they were very hot, he made the monks wear those ornaments and that started burning their mortal bodies. Now you can imagine such a scenario where their mortal bodies were being burnt by these ornaments. But he was not aware of the passionless disposition of these great saints. How could he harm those who did not consider the body of their own? After all, they were reposing in their soul, which remained untouched by fire. So body was being burnt by fire, but their soul is untouched. The outer bodies were burning and so were their past karmas. The 3 elder brothers Yudhishthir, Bhim, and Arjun were completely engrossed in experiencing the boundless happiness in their soul. And they were not distracted by this body being burnt, and they remained engrossed in their self. So no sentiments of attachment and aversions could rise. With such a great effort, they climbed the ladder of annihilation and destroyed all the karmas to attain the pure Siddh Dasha, or getting liberated. The younger two, Muniraj, Nakul and Sadev, had a minor attachment that led to them to bind the lifespan of Sarvat Siddhi in the celestial realm of 33 sagas. And what was this mild attachment about? That what elder brothers would be going through. Just that thought about their caring of elder brothers, that what would have been going through them. He bound auspicious karmas of a life in Sarvat Siddhi, okay, and that also for a very long duration of 33 sagas, ocean years. It's a very big time, Just that mild attachment of that feeling of caring for their elder brothers led them to a jail of that long time, you know. So, what is the takeaway from this example? There are three uh, basic conclusions that we arrive from this story. The three elder brothers, the munis, monks, who had no delusions, attachment, and aversions, followed the true religion and obtained moksha, or liberation. The younger two, one who had the mildest form of attachment, went to heaven owing to their virtuous dispositions or auspicious sentiments. The cruel torturer who was responsible for this heinous act went to hell because of his sinful sentiments. Okay. So you see, three kinds of sentiments are there. One is completely pure sentiments, which leads to liberation. The second one is the auspicious sentiments, which leads to attachment, and they take birth in heaven. The last one is inauspicious sentiments or sinful sentiments, pap, and that is responsible for them going to the hell. So there are only three types of sentiments: pure, auspicious, and inauspicious. Now, what is non-violence? Non-violence is the pure sentiment, and the sentiments of auspicious and inauspicious are violence. Now we understand that inauspicious sentiments is a violence, but how could inauspicious sentiment, punya, can be termed as violence? And that is what we are going to understand in this commentary on non-violence. What is exactly the non-violence? That question, to answer that question, this essay has been written here, and it has been adapted from Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev's work of Purusharth Siddhi Upay. This story, this small example, establishes that non-violence is the greatest religion, and the meaning of non-violence is pure, passionless disposition called vitragta, or the Shuddhopyog. Okay, so there are three types of sentiments. The pure sentiments called Shuddhopyog, the auspicious sentiments called Punya, and the inauspicious sentiments called the Pap. Shubh, Ashubh, and Shuddha. So Shuddh is the passionlessness, Shuddhopyog, and it is called the non-violence or the religion. Now I'll read from the textbook. If you have understood this example or this story, you will understand this whole chapter. That any kind of sentiments, whether it is auspicious or inauspicious, is termed as impure and it is called the violence. Why? Because it destroys the pure sentiments, okay, and that is violence. And any manifestation or the sentiments which is of pure nature is called non-violence. Now we'll read from the textbook from the beginning itself. Arunji, you read.
Okay, sir. Sir, starting से पढ़ना है from non-violence is the greatest religion.
Yeah.
Non-violence is the greatest religion is a common saying of the age. It is an established truth that non-violence is the greatest religion. But the question is what non-violence is. Whenever there is a talk of violence and non-violence, we always think of killing or torturing or saving living beings, thus relating violence and non-violence to others only. Most people believe that ahimsa is not only killing or harming others. Very few people understand that these are also related to the self. Even these regard violence of the self as suicide by poisoning, etc. Nobody tries to understand the innermost meaning of these two. Very few people know that rise of attachment and aversion in the inner self is also violence. It is on account of this that Acharya Amrit Chandra has given importance to the inner side while giving definitions of violence and non-violence. Apradurabhav, Kul, Ragadina. Skip करना है क्या सर?
अप्रादुर्भाव खल्लु रागादीनां भव्यत हिंसेति तेषामेवोत्पत्ति हिंसेति जिनागमस्य संक्षेप.
Rise of attachment, aversion, and delusion is violence, and their elimination is non-violence. As such, he empathetically declares that telling lies, theft, indulging in sensual joys, and accumulation of wealth and belongings, since they arise out of attachment, aversions, and delusions, are all violence. Telling lies and theft, etc., are all violence because they destroy the pure feelings of the soul. Their division is meant only to give knowledge about them to the students. Those who conduct themselves according to the tenets of religion do not commit violence merely on account of causing pain to others, since they are not actuated by feelings of attachments and aversions, and those who are careless about the tenets are guilty of violence, irrespective of the fact whether living creatures die or not, because they indulge in different passions and thus killing their souls. They are great sinners since they are self killers. Critics can say that when violence is not related to the killing or not killing others, why should we try to keep away from deeds of violence? We should only keep our feelings pure. The Acharya replies, it is true that other beings and objects are not causes of violence. Still then, for the purity of our feelings, we should not indulge in accumulation of wealth and other sins that are occasioned by violence. It is not true that external violence, that is, to torture or cause pain to others is not violence. It is violence since it is due to the recklessness of our being. We do not pay attention to the mental violence that is committed in the inner self and regard physical harm alone as violence. Here, our attention has been drawn to the psychic violence that is caused by passions like attachments. Those who do not renounce even external violence cannot understand psychic violence. It is therefore very necessary for mental purity that we should renounce uneatables, eating during night time, the use of wine, meat, honey, and 5 kinds of fruits which contain moving living creatures in them, because their consumption means the slaughter of countless moving living creatures and rise of cruelty in our feelings. Persons of non-violent conduct, having soft passions, do not indulge in such irresponsible activities. Violence is of two kinds: material violence, psychic violence. We easily understand that. Sorry,
Stop,
sir.
stop.
Okay.
So first we'll understand this much and then we'll move on to the other part. So you can see from the essay that what is violence and what is non-violence. We all admit and accept that hurting others, injuring others, killing others is definitely a violence. But saving others is a violence. How many would be able to digest that? Right? Uh, a dog was chasing a cat and you saved that cat. Do you feel that you have done violence? Nobody would admit, but that is what Jainism makes us understand. So in all the religions of the world, they only uh, limit their religion to that extent that doing good things is religion. Saving others, giving food to the hungry, all these all these activities they consider to be religion. But Jainism says that hurting others, killing others, injuring others is definitely a violence. But saving others is also a violence, is something unique to Jainism. So you can see how deep is our religion, that where all the religions end, uh, the religion of Jainism starts from there, you know. So this is the main difference. But the main part is that you should understand the exact and true meaning of violence and non-violence. Whenever there is a talk of violence and non-violence, we always think, first page, previous page. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Whenever there is a talk of violence and non-violence, we always think of killing or torturing or saving living beings, thus relating violence and non-violence to others only. Killing others, saving others. Okay. So saving others would be non-violence and killing others would be violence. That is the general perception. Most people believe that ahimsa, non-violence, is not only killing or harming others. Very few people understand that these are also related to the self. Even these regard violence of the self as suicide by poisoning, etc. So when we say violence of the self, they mean that when people commit suicide, by taking poison or jumping from a top of a building, high-rise building, and committing suicide, they consider this as violence of the self. But nobody tries to understand the innermost meaning of these two. Very few people know that rise of attachment and aversions in the inner self is also violence. So we understood that violence are of two kinds. One is internal violence, bhavinsa, and there is an external violence, dravya hinsa. It is also called material violence and psychic violence. So we have three names: material violence, physical violence, or external violence. It means the same. Then there is another violence called psychic violence or internal violence. Okay. So internal violence is bhavinsa and external violence is dravya hinsa. Now these two terminology we have to understand. So what is this internal violence or the bhavinsa? The rise of attachment, aversions, and delusions in the soul is the internal violence or bhav hinsa. What is dravya hinsa then? External violence, harming others, beings, inflicting injury through thought, words, and or deeds is the external violence. Second point, the main reason behind bondage of karma is this internal violence, bhav hinsa. Wherein external violence it is written as it does not lead to karmic bondage directly, but indicates the impure sentiments of the soul. So when you are inflicting pain on others, that means you are manifesting impure sentiments of the soul, and that leads to karmic bondage. The third point, the third difference between internal and external violence is that internal violence is included in the influx and bondage elements, asrav and bandh tattva, and is the main cause of all miseries. Whereas under external violence, we say it is included in the non-soul elements. So internal violence is included in the influx and bondage elements. External violence is included in the non-soul ajiv tattva elements, and as such not a cause of miseries. But since it is visible to the society, it is condemned and often punished by law. The fourth point or the fourth difference between the internal and external violence is under internal violence, in the absence of any external violence, internal violence leads to bondage of karma, and the soul has to bear its fruits. In the absence of internal violence, external violence does not bind any karmas, and hence such violence does not bear any fruit. So the conclusion is, first there is a violence at the thought level, then that spreads to the speech level, and then it spreads to the physical level, that is at the body level. Okay. So the main cause of external violence is the internal violence, and internal violence is the true violence or the actual violence, and external violence is not actually the true violence. Okay. So we must understand that in the absence of internal violence, only external violence does not bind any karmas. I'll give you an example. A person was walking on the road and he was looking left and right, but not on the pathway. And he was, so that means he was not careful that small creatures will be killed if I don't see on the road, on the path. Okay. And he was just walking carelessly. Now, he did not kill any small insects on the way, but still he was binding inauspicious karmas. Okay. And a monk was walking through the path and carefully looking down only that not a single insect will be killed by myself. But one insect came flying, and as he was about to put his foot on the ground, that insect got killed by that monk. Now my question is, would he bind karmas or not? Yeah, Soumya, say.
No, sir. A monk would not bind karmas because he was aware, like where what he was going, and that jeev got killed because of his that ayu got completed. That's why he got killed.
Yeah, very good. The monk would not bind karmas because he was walking very carefully. He had in his mind that not a single small insect should be killed by me. And that because of that, he was uh, walking with full awareness. Okay. So in although he killed that small insect was killed because of his leg only, through under his foot only, but still he does not bind any karmas because he had no feeling or no sentiments of attachment and aversions while he was walking. So there was no internal violence. So in spite of being in spite there was an external violence, but he was not binding any karmas because there was no internal violence. And the other person who did not kill any of the small insects, but since he was walking, looking left and right, so he was not being careful. He was walking uh, with recklessness. Okay. So he was binding karmas because he was not manifesting pure sentiments. Okay. He was manifesting attachments and aversions while walking. And in spite of not killing any of the insects, he is binding karmas. So now with this logic, you have to establish that anything that any sentiments of attachment and aversions is a violence. It's a violence at the psychic level. It's a violence at the internal level. Okay. And that is the true violence. And those who does not manifest any internal violence is the true non-violence. So rise of attachment, aversions, and delusions is violence, and their elimination is non-violence. This is the definition given in Pursat Siddh Upay, verse number 44. This one. Apradurbhava. Apradurbhava means not manifesting any kind of attachments and aversions. Khalu ragadina. Khalu means from the real point of view. Ragadina means attachments, etc. Etc. means attachment, aversions, delusions, all kinds of sentiments. Bhavatya hinseti. That is only non-violence. So if you are not manifesting aversions and attachments, it is non-violence. Tesha mevotpatti. That rise of sentiments of attachments and aversions is violence. That is the, in short, the doctrine of Jainism. Jinagamasya Sankshep. This is the doctrine of Jainism. So any sentiments of attachments and aversions is violence. Any uh, detachment, any sentiments of passionlessness is non-violence. So rise of attachment, aversions, and delusions is violence, and their elimination is non-violence. As such, he emphatically declares that telling lies, thefts, indulging in sensual joys and accumulation of wealth and belongings, since they arise out of, slightly take it slightly up, Jia. Yeah. Since they arise out of attachments, aversions, and delusions are all violence. So any kind of violence, whether it is in the form of killing, torturing, or it is in the form of telling lies or stealing, theft, indulging in sensual joys, and accumulation of wealth and belongings are indirectly form of violence. Telling lies and thefts are all violence because they destroy the pure feelings of the soul. So the conclusion is, when the pure feelings of the soul is being destroyed, it is called violence. And when it is not destroyed and manifested, pure feelings is itself non-violence. Their division is meant only to give knowledge about them to the students. So the divisions of theft, lies, hinsa, jhoot, chori, kushil, indulging in sensual pleasures, and parigra, accumulation of wealth, are all kinds of violence only. Those who conduct themselves according to the tenets. Tenets means principle, doctrines of Jainism, of religion, do not commit violence merely on account of causing pain to others, since they are not actuated by feelings of attachment and aversions. And those who are careless, like that person who was looking left and right and walking, about the tenets, are guilty of violence irrespective of the fact whether living creatures die or not, because they indulge in different passions and thus kill their souls. Kill their souls means they kill the pure manifestations does not manifest. That is called the killing of the soul. They are great sinners since they are self-killers. They are inflicting pain on the self by manifesting feelings of attachments and aversions. Critics can say that when violence is not related to the killing or not killing others, why should we try to keep away from deeds of violence? We should only keep our feelings pure. The Acharya replies, it is true that other beings and objects are not causes of violence, because violence starts when there is a sentiments of attachments and aversions. Still then, for the purity of our feeling, we should not indulge in accumulation of wealth and other sins that are occasioned by violence. We will give you an example of doctor. A doctor operates a patient just to save his life, but that patient has to die and he dies. We don't put doctors into the jail. Why? Because he has taken utmost care while operating the patient. But just because that patient's life was over, he has to die. So in spite of being a number one doctor and taking all the precautions while operating the patient dies. But doctor is not put into jail because his intention was to save the patient. But since the lifespan of that patient was over, he could not save him. Another example we can take of a hunter. That hunter is going to the woods to kill animals, and he does not find any animals in the jungle. If he gets sight of an animal, then he will fire, but he doesn't get any animals. He doesn't meet any animals in the jungle. So he has not killed any animal, but just his activity going to the jungle with a view to kill animals, that itself binds karmas. Okay. So the relation of the binding of the karmas is related to the internal violence of attachments and aversions. So when you manifest attachments and aversions, there is a violence of the self, even if you are not killing externally anybody. Okay, that is the main takeaway of this chapter. It is not true that external violence, that is to torture or cause pain to others, is not violence. It is violence, since it is due to recklessness of our being. Pramad, laparwahi. We do not pay attention to the mental violence that is committed in the inner self and regard physical harm alone as violence. Hence, our attention has been drawn to the psychic violence that is caused by passions like attachments. Those who do not renounce even external violence cannot understand psychic violence. It is therefore very necessary for mental purity that we should renounce uneatables, eating during night time, the use of wine, meat, and honey, and 5 kinds of fruit called udambar phal. These 5 fruits are prohibited because it contains moving living creatures in them. Because their consumption means the slaughter of countless moving living creatures and rise of cruelty in our feelings, intense passions, So, so for our mental purity, we should renounce all these uneatables, eating during night time, all kinds of sins. Persons of non-violent conduct having soft passions do not indulge in such irresponsible activities. So those who have mild passions, they don't indulge in irresponsible activities. So there are 2 kinds of violence. One is material violence and one is psychic violence. Material violence is also called physical violence or external violence or dravya hinsa. Psychic violence is internal violence or bhav hinsa. Now we'll read from the textbook again from here to end. We easily understand. Samya, you read.
We easily understand that material violence is killing or torturing living beings, and psychic violence is the desire or mental preparation to commit such violence. But we do not understand that intention to save the life of others is also not real non-violence, because that is also attachment. In fact, the emergence of attachment of whatever kind in the mind is violence because it leads to bondage. When Acharya Amritchandra included feelings of attachment in violence, it is not possible that he did not have an idea of their connotation, auspicious and inauspicious attachments both. Acharya Amritchandra has given a true and the best definition of non-violence. All attachments, etc., of whatever nature are violence. If they have somewhere been described as non-violence, that is conventional exposition of facts. Critics can say that such non-violence can only be followed by the monks, and as such, it concerns them alone. Feelings of kindness in saving the lives of others is real non-violence of the householder. Acharya Amritchandra has taken up this matter and established that non-violence is not of 2 kinds. There can be 2 stages of imbibing non-violence in life, but violence shall always remain violence. If the householder cannot abjure violence altogether, he may abjure part thereof, but that which he cannot abjure cannot be regarded as non-violence. If we cannot abjure violence completely, we should abstain from partial violence. If we cannot even do that, we should at least abstain from regarding and calling violence as something religious. Auspicious activities, because they are attachments, are included in violence, and it is not correct to treat them as religion. The rise of attachments, aversions, and delusions in ourselves is violence, and to treat them as religion is the greatest violence. An absence of these is non-violence, and not to regard these as religion is the real understanding of non-violence. A possible question is why vicious attachments are violence, but why regard virtuous attachments as violence? The fact is that when attachment is violence, how can virtuous attachments be non-violence? It is also a kind of attachment. Of course, virtuous attachments are mild violence and vicious attachments are strong violence. If we cannot abjure all violence altogether, we should mitigate it. The lesser our attachments, the better it is for us, but their presence cannot be treated as religion. Religion is complete absence of attachment, aversions, and delusions, and that is non-violence, which has been hailed as the greatest religion.
So you were having a fever of 105 degree, okay? And you took some medicines and now it was 101. So somebody asked you how you are feeling now. What would you say? What would you say? You will say completely all right. You would say like that? No. You may say that I am feeling better than previous, but still I am not fully recovered because from 105 you have come to 101, but the normal temperature should be 98.4. So unless and until you attain 98.4, you are still not completely cured. Okay. It's just that you were having great fever of 105. Now you are at 101. So fever has reduced, but it is not that you have completely healed, right? Similarly, whether it is intense passions or it is mild passions, is all form of violence only. To consider it as non-violence is a wrong understanding of the principle of non-violence. Okay, so this is the main what the Acharya Amritchandra wants to say about violence. So this was over. In fact, the emergence of attachment of whatever kind, okay, whether it is mild or it is intense, whether it is auspicious or inauspicious, any kind of emergence of attachment is a violence because it leads to bondage. So the one which leads to bondage, how can we consider them to be non-violence? When Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev included feelings of attachment in violence, it is not possible that he did not have an idea of their connotation. Connotation means intention, subtle implications, its inner meaning, that is auspicious and inauspicious attachments both. So whether it is auspicious attachment, whether inauspicious attachment, it is violence only. So my question, then we should not indulge in any kind of auspicious or inauspicious activities, but we should be always longing for pure sentiments. Is it true? We should never have auspicious and inauspicious attachments, but we should only manifest pure sentiments.
Yes, sir.
But
This should be the final goal, but it is not possible at this stage. So we should be trying to ditch. We should try to ditch the inauspicious sentiments and come to auspicious for the time being. But we should not be satisfied in that stage. Ultimate objective is to reach the pure sentiment and to give up all kinds of attachment, whether it is auspicious or inauspicious.
very good, very good. So from inauspicious, you come to auspicious. From auspicious, you come to pure sentiments. That is where the religion of passionlessness manifests, and that is the pure sentiment. But coming from inauspicious to auspicious and getting satisfied is not non-violence. It is not religion. But most of the people do that only. They come, they don't get indulge in non, they don't get indulged in auspicious activities, but they take interest in getting into auspicious activities and feeling satisfied. And that is what Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev wants to highlight here, that any kind of attachments, whether it is mild or intense, is a violence of the self. Okay. Only pure sentiments is non-violence. So now you should be very clear about what is non-violence. So people generally relate non-violence as saving others, not committing any, not killing others or not inflicting any pains on others as non-violence, but it is not true non-violence. All attachments of whatever nature are violence if they have somewhere been described as non-violence. That is conventional exposition of facts. That is the conventional point of view. From the real point of view, any kind of attachments, whether it is mild or intense, is all it's all violence. Now, the main discussion. Critics can say that such non-violence can only be followed by the monks, and as such it concerns them alone. Feeling of kindness in saving the lives of others is real non-violence of the householder. So you understood what the critics wants to say here? That non-violence can only be followed by the monks, because that pure manifestations is at our level, at a householder level, is not possible. So that should be only applicable to the monks to create non-violence. But as a householder, we should only be limiting ourselves to feeling of kindness by saving lives of others and helping others, saving others, working, helping the age old, whatever kinds of all kinds of auspicious activities can be included in that. So as a householder, since we are not able to manifest pure sentiments, we should limit ourselves to good auspicious activities only. But that is not correct. Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev has taken up this matter and established that non-violence is not of two kinds. There can be two stages of imbibing non-violence in life. So there are two levels of imbibing non-violence in life. But violence shall always remain violence. If the householder cannot abjure violence altogether, completely, he may abjure part thereof. But that which he cannot abjure cannot be regarded as non-violence. If we cannot abjure violence completely, we should abstain from partial violence. We should abstain from it partially. Okay. If we cannot do even that, we should at least abstain from regarding and calling violence as something religious. So this is the final statement. It's coming in the next paragraph. Auspicious activities, because they are attachments, are included in violence, and it is not correct to treat them as religion. So now these next 4 lines are the conclusion of this whole chapter. Rise of attachments, aversions, and delusions in ourselves is violence, hinsa, and to treat them as religion is the greatest violence, mahahinsa. Rise of attachment, aversion, and delusion in ourselves is violence, internal violence, hinsa, and to treat them as religion is the greatest violence, mahahinsa. And absence of these is non-violence. So absence of attachments, aversions, and delusions is non-violence. and not to regard these attachments and aversions as religion is the real understanding of non-violence. So my question is, how can you manifest non-violence? Or in other words, how can you avoid manifesting attachments, aversions, and delusions? How you can do that? It is true that we should not manifest attachment, aversions, and delusions, and we should manifest pure sentiments only. But how we do that?
So, sir, as long as we are involved, uh, like if we continue to remain involved in the worldly things, we will always have attachments, aversions, and delusions. So the only way to get out of that would be to move away from the worldly matters.
How? What would you do to move away from worldly matters?
I guess one part of that is like the Shastra and the Swadhyaya we are doing now to learn about ways to do that.
That will bind auspicious karmas, right?
Yeah.
So what would be the way out? So we have not come to the solution, right? We have understood that any feeling or sentiments of attachments, aversions, and delusions is violence. Okay. And not manifesting them is non-violence. But how do we come to that feeling of non-violence or that feeling of pure sentiments? How that can be manifested? That is the question. Try Samyak, think bit more. How keep
Like we were saying before that if we are like can monks achieve the or are monks they have complete absence of attachments, aversions, and delusions, or is that only when you achieve liberation?
see, complete absence of attachments, aversions, and delusions is only when we attain liberation. But before that, there are levels of attachments, aversions. Okay, there are levels of passions. There are 4 levels. So when you the first time you realize yourself or you experience yourself, the intensity of passions called the Anantanubandhi Kashai, that goes away. That is the first level. Then the second level is Apratyakyan. So the first level does not allow you, the first level of passions does not allow you to manifest right belief. The second level of passions does not allow you to manifest partial renunciation. Okay. The third level of passions does not allow you to become to practice right complete conduct. Okay. And the fourth level of passions stops you from manifesting complete uh, complete passionlessness. Okay. So these are the 4 level of passions. So even the monks who are in the 6th, 7th stage of spiritual development, they also do have mildest of passions. They are not completely passionlessness. Okay. So they have mildest of passions, but they have these purities. Purity to the level, to the extent that they have got rid of 3 levels of passions. So that much purity is manifested, and still there is 1 level left. So that much attachment is there. Okay. So the monks are not completely free of attachments, aversions, and delusions. Okay. So So my question, we again come back to that question that I want to manifest pure sentiments. So what do I do? You have told about the monk, you have told about the householder, but my question is, how do we manifest pure sentiments? Soumya, yeah.
Sir, by right understanding of the seven tattvas, seven substances, we can understand Ashraf Tattva that this all these attachment delusion are reasons of bondage, and that's why we should give them away. And this right understanding of the seven tattvas will lead us to discriminative knowledge or vivek gyan or bhed vigyan, and that will lead us to self-realization. So when we uh, attain self-realization, automatically attachment and all these Anantanumanti will be gone, and violence will be reduced. That is how the path should be.
I'm still not satisfied. Anyone else? Himali?
So apart from what Soumyaji said, I think what is also important is the right belief, right faith, and right conduct would also help us in, developing passionlessness.
Yeah, but how do I the right knowledge and right conduct? What all are missing is the main that you have to take shelter in the soul. If you take away soul, how the pure sentiments will manifest? And why taking shelter in the soul manifests pure sentiments, because the soul itself is pure. So when you take shelter in the pure soul substance, you automatically manifest pure sentiments. And attachments and aversion only rise when you take shelter or when you incline towards external things. Nobody would manifest attachments and aversions if you take shelter in the soul, because it is our nature. So when you take shelter in your nature, you never manifest attachments and aversions, because soul itself is pure, completely pure. Okay. So when we take shelter in this pure soul, we manifest pure sentiments. And when we manifest pure sentiments, it is the true non-violence. Okay. So this is how the non-violence can be manifested. So we know what is violence, we know what is non-violence, we know how we can manifest non-violence, and that is the path of liberation. Okay. It includes right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. But all these things will only manifest when we take shelter to our soul. So our primary objective will be to take shelter in the passionlessness soul. Okay. And when we take shelter in this passionlessness soul, pure soul, the purity automatically manifests. Okay. So this is one thing that we have never done it. So how the weightage, we have habit of taking shelter in external substances, right? From time immortal, we have been taking shelter in external substances. We never took shelter in our soul. If for a one moment we would have taken shelter in our soul, we would have manifested right belief, samyak darshan. Okay. So we never took shelter in our soul, but apart from soul, we took shelter in everything else. Take example, we took shelter in our body, we took shelter in our manifestation of passions, attachments, shubh bhav, ashubh bhav, auspicious, inauspicious sentiments, okay, everything. But never we took shelter in our soul, and that is where the non-violence begins. That is from where the non-violence begins. So we come back to that again, to that paragraph. Rise of attachments, aversions, and delusions in ourselves is violence, and to treat them as religion is the greatest violence, mahahinsa. And absence of these is non-violence, and this can only be manifested when we take shelter or refuge in our soul. So any kind of attachment, whether it is mild attachments or intense attachment, it is all violence. But having said that, we cannot manifest pure sentiments directly moving from inauspicious sentiments. So in between, the auspicious sentiments will come, but we should not be satisfied with that. We should only be satisfied after taking shelter in the soul only. And that is our ultimate objective. Yeah. You want to ask anything? Yeah. Hemant.
So, why would you treat it as religion? I didn't understand that.
It is manifesting pure sentiment. Religion is manifesting non-violence. Okay.
So,
Different.
I
Sir,
can't
your
hear
voice
you.
was breaking in between, sir.
Pardon?
So, we couldn't hear you, sir.
One. Hear me? You cannot hear me. I'm not on mute.
So, it was cracking.
Now it is cracking.
No, sir, now it's fine.
So the conclusion was that rise of attachments, aversions, and delusions in ourselves is violence, and to treat them as religion is the greatest violence. Okay. Greatest violence is the greatest violence because it's a delusion. Okay. If you are treating mild attachment as religion, then it is a greatest violence. And absence of these means absence of attachments, aversions, and delusions is non-violence. And how this can be manifested? By taking shelter in the soul. Okay. So the last and the final conclusion is that you have to take shelter in your soul. Your soul is embodiment of pure sentiments, pure qualities. Okay. We are ourselves made up of infinite pure qualities. So when we take shelter in ourselves, automatically we manifest pure sentiments. And when we manifest pure sentiments, it is termed as religion or non-violence. Okay. Now you understood, Hemali? The whole link?
No, sir.
Where you are getting, where you are.
So what I'm asking is this thing that they are saying, rise of attachments, aversions, and delusions in ourselves is violence, and to treat them as religion. Why will you treat rise of attachment, aversion, and delusion as religion? Are they talking about our love for God?
No. They are saying that to treat them as religion is again a delusion, not the correct understanding, right? So if you
Okay.
consider this rise of attachment, aversion, and delusions as religion, then it is the greatest violence. Greatest violence. It is not non-violence. It is greatest violence because it's a wrong understanding, right?
Sir, she's asking that why would anyone consider acts of delusion, etc., as religion in the first place?
Religion. Yes, sir.
As I said, auspicious activities, right? People indulge in auspicious activities and they feel that this is religion. And here they want to highlight that even auspicious, while doing auspicious activities, it is still a mild passion. It is not passionlessness state.
Okay, I got it, sir.
If you consider
Means
that,
like you said, saving the cat from the dog.
yeah.
I would have earlier thought that this, I have saved it, I've done. Okay, I got it, sir.
So saving the cat, you feel that you have done a good thing. Considering killing the cat, compared to killing the cat, saving the cat is a good thing, but it is not a religion. That is what they want to establish. So most of the people have this wrong wrong belief that by doing good activities we are doing religion. Okay, by indulging in going to the temple, by doing swadhyay, by doing giving donations, we are doing religion, and that is what should not be considered as religion. It is in fact a kind of violence. Yeah, Jia, want to
Yeah.
ask?
So I had a question. So if you help someone or do something good without considering it as a good thing or without considering it as religion, would you still bind like auspicious attachments? Like
Yeah,
if you consider,
you will bind auspicious you will bind auspicious karmas, and when that will come into fruition, you will get all the good things in life. So
but
we,
if you don't consider it as a good thing, even then you
yeah, you should not consider it as a religion. You should only consider it that just it's a kind of auspicious activity.
Act by
Killing,
a human being.
killing is an inauspicious activity. So saving is an auspicious activity. That's all. But why you will consider it as religion? Okay, it is religion is only the passionlessness state. Religion is only the non-violence. Religion is only uh, non. Religion is only detachment. Okay, so religion is the pure sentiment. So any rise of auspicious or inauspicious sentiment is not religion, but it is a violence. So the religion does not say you don't save the cat. You can always save the cat, but you don't consider it as religion. That's all. Just go. We have certain rules like going to the temple in the morning, first thing in the morning. Then we celebrate festivals. Uh, uh, we do religious studies. We do uh, puja. All these activities are auspicious activities, but these are all not religion. Religion only can be manifested only when you take shelter in the self, in your soul, and just because our soul is pure of infinite qualities, so when we take shelter in that, all these qualities are manifested in the modification, and that is the state of non-violence or pure sentiment. And that is only the religion. So this is all about violence and non-violence. So we should understand violence, non-violence, and how we can manifest non-violence by taking shelter in the soul.
So I had one more question.
Yeah.
So earlier in the chapter, they spoke of 5 fruits that we should not consume. So which are these 5 fruits? I know one is fig or anjeer. Others I don't know.
Hindi it is called umberfal. Okay. One is that names are given in Balbodh. We have studied that in Balbodh. Udambar Fal, Panch Udambar Fal, I think.
Sir, that is bird, people, Umar, Katumar, Pakar.
uh, by the names. And
But
there are
all these are figs, etc. No, nobody eats these fruits apart from anjeer, I think.
Anjeer, people doesn't know that Anjeer is also a part of this. So
Yes.
others we don't eat, but still, if you are not knowing whether it is eatable or non-eatable, it is best not to eat. First clarify it and then only eat, right? So this five there are English names also given when we studied Balbodh. I'll share the English names also of these 5 fruits. Because in Google, if you put these names, you will get the English names also. But right now, I don't remember. I don't remember the Hindi names also. So bird, people, katumbar,
Umar,
uh,
Katumar, Pakar.
pakar, yeah. So I think Pakar is Anjir, right?
Don't know, sir.
Don't know, sir.
Sir, all these are Bahubijak, sir. Multiple small seeds are there inside all these fruits.
Right, right. So moving creatures, 10 जीव भी होते हैं उसमें. If you take this Anjir, there are small, sometimes, not every time. So it is best to avoid those things. Even in
Strawberry also is there, no?
Safal also,
Sita.
small sometimes, not all times. Even in tarbuj, there are chances of having. So you have to see whether it is, it has like, if it is overripe, then this creatures comes in it, that takes birth in that. So anything else? 5 kinds of fruits you have, you know the names. So there are 8 things that we should avoid. That is wine, consumption of wine, meat, honey, and 5 kinds of fruits. These are the basic things that we have to follow as a Jain. And then there is, we should renounce uneatables, eating during night time. And these are all the qualities of a Jain. You should go to the temple every day, Dev Darshan. All these things are included in the, as a lay person, as a householder, we should follow these traits. Okay, so last paragraph, coming on to the last paragraph. A possible question is vicious attachment, means mild attachments are violence. Sorry, not mild. Intense attachments are violence. But why regard virtuous attachments, means mild attachments, as violence? The fact is that when attachment is violence, how can virtuous attachments be treated as non-violence? It is also a kind of attachment. Of course, virtuous attachments are mild violence and vicious attachments are strong or intense violence. If we cannot abjure violence altogether, we should mitigate it, means we should reduce it, we should lessen it. The lesser are our attachments, the better it is for us, but their presence cannot be treated as religion. Religion is complete absence of attachment, aversions, and delusions, and that is non-violence, which has been hailed as the greatest religion. So that doctrine, ahimsa parmo dharma, non-violence is the greatest religion. So that non-violence, you have to understand what is violence and what is non-violence, and that is what this essay was all about. So if you have any questions, we can discuss. This is the end of our Vitrag Vigyan part 2. From next week, we will start Vitrag Vigyan part 3. Okay. First chapter that we will do in Vitrag Vigyan part 3 is about Nischay Vyavhar. And that Nischay Vyavhar means real point of view and conventional point of view. So that chapter we are going to do. I think it is the 8th chapter, but we will do it in the beginning itself. And that will be your homework for concept clarity paper 3. Okay. So I'm teaching you the chapter in the beginning itself, so that you have enough time to complete your concept clarity paper 3. Okay. So last date for concept clarity paper 2 is 17th of May. So today is 11th. So when we come for class next week, Saturday, it will be 18th, right? So you should complete before that concept clarity paper 2. And on 18th, we will study about Nischay Vyavhar, and we will study in detail what is given in the textbook, that we will do. But apart from that, I will teach you something extra, okay, on Nischay Vyavhar, and that will also be a part of your concept clarity paper 3. Okay. So I think we will we will understand it in very detail, and maybe we can we will do it in spread it over 2 classes also, but that we will be doing it very in very detailed manner. What is given in the textbook that we'll cover, but apart from that, we will also cover its divisions and subdivisions and how we can practice discriminative knowledge from that. So 2 important topics we have covered under concept clarity. The first one was about 7 fundamentals, that is concept clarity paper 1. How many of you are still to complete paper 1 concept clarity?
Sir, me, Shubhangi.
Both of
Yeah,
you,
even I'm there.
so you should also, Samyak, you should do.
Submit both the papers together.
Yeah, same.
Maximum by tomorrow.
Okay. And Samyak, when you will submit?
Yeah, I'll submit both of them together this week.
Okay. So this week you complete both of them, and you should listen to the class discussion held in classes. Okay. Because only the chapter of 7 fundamentals is really not much things are covered over there. So we did it in a very detailed form, and we came to that conclusion of how to practice descriptive knowledge by knowing the 7 fundamentals. So that whole process should be included in your concept clarity paper 1. Then in paper 2, we have done 4 exposition, that also you listen to the classes. From there only you will be able to give those practical examples. And the third one also is very practical about Nischay Vyavhar. So I have chosen only small topics, but in very detailed manner, so that these things are going to be, you should be practicing it this time and again throughout your life. And this is what you will help you to get ahead in this path of liberation. Okay. So we are covering important topics for concept clarity. Rest are also important, so you should just understand those topics also. But since we were writing on concept clarity, so I thought I will give the important ones only. Okay, so still 10 minutes are left. So if you have any questions, we can take up, or we will conclude for the day. And you should complete today and tomorrow. You have holiday, so you should complete your concept clarity paper 1 and 2. Those who have completed 1, and you have also completed Gandhar Mulyankan. Samyak, you have done GM.
Yes, sir, I have done my Gandhar Mulyankan.
So
I haven't submitted mine. I'll submit it.
Even I haven't said.
so whoever not submitted, just do it immediately in this week only. Okay. So that will complete our. Now one more oral is left, that is called Viva, and that I will be giving 3 questions on that. So once we complete the third next week's chapter, I'll give 3 questions, 1 each on all these concept clarity 1, concept clarity 2, and concept clarity 3. I'll try to give 3 questions from these 3 chapters only. So again, you connect to that same concept again in Viva. And then will have 3 practical questions coming from the management anytime by the end of May. So that will be our last assignment. And then directly in July, you will have objective online test. Okay. So this will complete our semester 1. Okay. So we'll end today. निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना 7 बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना 7 बार है। 9 बार नौकर मंत्र गिनेंगे। जय जिनेन्द्र।
Judgments.
Jai